Three young thugs in the middle of the night hit the man from behind with a club. They not only took the man's money, but also ruthlessly humiliated him. His welding cap was put on his head. His luggage was also taken. He also lost his memory as a result. Thus began an interesting vagabond story. Upon waking up, he went to the station's restroom. The security guard on duty followed him and found him lying in the toilet. "There's a dead person here." The man was taken to the hospital, but soon he had no heartbeat. The doctor pronounced the patient dead. When everyone had left, he suddenly sat up and straightened his broken nose. The next day, he appeared at the seaside. A vagrant stole his shoes. Two young boys saw that he was still alive and informed their father. The man was saved by this family, who were not very wealthy to begin with. The woman still cooked a pot of rice for him, feeding him spoonful by spoonful. This made the two children very envious. The family lived in a container, living a difficult life. Only the husband worked night shifts at a nearby factory. At night, the woman changed his bandages. The man finally spoke. "Thank you, but last night's experience made him forget everything." The next day, the husband finished work. The two children put down their playing cards, carrying a bucket of hot water to shower the father. He put on a suit to take the man out to eat, and what they called outside. It was just the Friday event at the welfare center. A woman noticed the handsome man. They fell in love at first sight. After the meal, they went to a pub, ordered 2 beers. Today happened to be payday. He wanted to secretly enjoy a good meal without his wife knowing. "Let me do it." During the conversation, he noticed that the man's hands had done manual labor. Obviously, he is not a scholar. He drank 8 glasses of draft beer in one go. That salary basically all went to his drinking. On the way home, he picked up a stick, but the man managed to dodge. He wanted to use a physical blow to help the man regain his memory. A sheriff rented out an old shipping container to the man. The rent is $100 per week. He threatened that if the payment was not made on time, he would release hunting dogs to eat him. The man found a place to stay by the sea. He cleaned up the place. An electrician connected the power supply for him. They salvaged 3 big items from outside: a single bed, a refrigerator, and a phonograph. This man with no past started living here. He got a truckload of soil and planted potatoes in it. It's another Friday. He returned the plates, complaining that there was too little salt in the soup. The woman gave him a business card, asking him to get a new piece of clothing from the welfare center. You may not imagine in this community, the container is already considered a mansion. There are still people living in trash cans. The man arrived at the Employment Service Center, the location of the Employment Service Center. He wants to find a job here, but he struggled when signing. He didn't even remember his own name. The leader learned about the man's situation, but he was directly driven away. He came to the restaurant and took a cup of hot water for free. He took out a tea bag that had been used many times and put it in the cup. The landlady saw this scene. She brought him a meal. It was obviously freshly made. She said it was leftover from lunch. She also thoughtfully asked him if he wanted milk. There are good people everywhere. The destitute man was at the welfare center. He got a set of new clothes. Emma learned about the man's situation. She found the leader hoping to help him. And that's how the man found a manual labor job. The sheriff came to collect rent in the evening. He brought what he called a hunting dog. But the man had just found a job. Vasio Interpalvalu Antala K security guard released the chain and let it bite the man. Security services Antala K. But this is clearly a pet dog. The man promised to start making payments on time next week. The sheriff lifted him up from the bed, threatening to leave for a week himself. Leave the dog here for him to take care of. Does it have a name? Mudpool. Although the man's identity cannot receive equal pay treatment, but after working a few days, he also got 800 yuan. He waited for Emma to get off work in the evening, saying he's afraid of the dark and hopes she can give him a ride. Although he lost his memory, but his ability to pick up girls has not diminished at all. All right, let's go then. The two of them arrived at Emma's place tacitly. Be careful. What? There's something in your eye. I didn't feel it, just got in. Let me take a look. You stole my first kiss. Please forgive me. I am not a gentleman. Emma, who never wore makeup, tried using mascara. The sheriff returned that day. The man paid the rent as agreed, wanting to borrow his car. But the sheriff's mind was only on business. Hannibal then followed the man, who prepared 2 steaks to entertain Emma. However, the last steak ended up burnt. The beans were completely eaten. The two sat on the sofa, and with the help of music, they established a connection. Watching the potatoes grow bigger, the man felt life was becoming more promising. He brought the welfare band to his own container, hoping they, who always played lyrical music, learned a bit about modern rock music. He even asked the supervisor to accept the band's transformation, and the forward-thinking supervisor not only agreed, leading the band in rehearsal. It's another Friday. Under the supervisor's lead, these people who have suffered in life start to dance gracefully. Several young men in the band at night continue playing under the man's organization. The sheriff sees the man who just arrived, preparing to ask him for money, but he doesn't know this is the performance he organized. The sheriff is taken aback. Halfway through the day's work, the man sees the bright light from welding across. He instinctively walks up and says he can do it too. The foreman lets him give it a try. Unexpectedly, the fish scale welding turns out quite neat. And that's how he got hired by the company. But to earn this wage, he needs a bank account. The man goes to the bank under the supervisor's guidance, planning to open a digital account. He goes to the counter to open an account. A gun-wielding man pushes him aside. He wants to withdraw the frozen money from the account, and incidentally smashes the monitor. The teller calmly took him to the vault. He withdrew the frozen 240,000. The strong man didn't want a penny more. He got his own money. He then locked the two of them in the vault. The clever teller broke the fire device. The teller recorded their statements and then left. The man, however, was arrested because he didn't know his own name. He was arrested by the police. Luckily, he had watched a lot of movies. He knew he could still make a phone call. Emma learned about the man's situation. She hired a lawyer for him. Under the lawyer's lengthy legal terms, they couldn't release him. However, the man's photo was posted by the police. The man went to the bar to drink. The strong man from before approached him, and he apologized for what happened before. He then told his own tragic story. The strong man was a construction contractor, but just after he bought 2 new machines, the bank retracted the loan citing breach of trust. The machine was sold to the bank at a low price, but the bank sold it at 3 times the price. His bank account was also frozen. Workers who couldn't pay their wages were all fired by him. He could only resort to this plan: rob the bank to get his money back, just to pay those people their wages. With tears in his eyes, he hoped the man could help. The two arrived at the strong man's residence. He had already divided the money. Each one was clearly written. He gave the man a reward, hoping he could apologize to those owed wages, express his apologies. The strong man knew his consequences. He shot himself after the man left. The man could have kept all the money for himself, but he kept his promise. He delivered each one. That day, the police found the man. They received a call from the man's wife. His name is Jack, a welder at the factory. But what puzzled the police was, she knew Jack was missing, yet she never made a single call to the police. Jack fell into contemplation. At this moment, Emma rushed towards the guy who was her first love. After learning about Jack's situation, Emma generously escorted him to the station. Jack boarded the train back to his hometown like this. Back home, his wife seemed very indifferent. The Jack in her mouth was a man addicted to gambling. He squandered all the savings at home. The two of them always fought. They had divorced a long time ago. The ex-wife's current boyfriend wanted to duel with him, but considering the current situation, Jack knew that leaving was the best option. He returned to that rundown community. Coincidentally, he ran into those 3 thugs from last time. Seeing the man who had come back from the dead, they decided to send him off again. But this time, Jack picked up a weapon. The thugs' faces turned pale. People all stood up. They rushed towards the thugs who had long been persecuting the community. The sheriff finally appeared. Jack arrived at the welfare center. He took away the girl who belonged to him. Thus, the movie ends. You may have noticed, these down-and-out people are dressed in suits. They are very aware of how one's appearance can make a deep impression on others. It can give others a profound impression. Neat clothing. At the very least, it won't let these people be discriminated against because of their appearance, and make them even more self-destructive. You don't look like a drunkard. And these down-and-out people all have one thing in common. They always live day by day without a tomorrow, ill pay, and have never stood up for themselves. People from the same community, even when someone is beaten beyond recognition, they remain indifferent until a leader emerges. Only then can they be motivated. The title of the movie is The Man Without a Past. Actually portrays, it's about a man starting anew. The man who used to gamble completely disappeared into the past. The director expressed it through amnesia. No matter how unbearable you were before, but as long as you are willing to face life positively, you will definitely be able to start anew. Gu-Wo movie. Starting over is like cultivating. You had nothing from the beginning. Watching the movie until the end to see your own achievements. You will definitely feel gratified. No commentary can replace the original film. A good movie is worth experiencing the complete plot. I am Gu-Wo 1. Looking forward to our next meeting.